My stepson yelled, "You don't get to speak to my teacher. You're just the guy who pays." So I let his mom handle every school bill. The principal called me the next morning. My stepson shouted across the classroom, "You don't get to talk to my teacher. You're just the guy who pays." The words didn't echo. They detonated. Heads turned. The teacher froze mid-sentence. And I stood there, mouth half open, heart halved again, as if I had walked into someone else's humiliation. But it was mine. Only mine. The worst part wasn't what he said. It was that he believed it. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just turned and left the room, past the other parents, past the secretary who didn't look up, out into the parking lot where my car waited like a coffin, engine cold. Like me. That night I stopped paying. Let his mother, my wife, handle the bills. The tutoring, the Chromebook, the lunch card. I cut every line. The principal called me at 7:42 the next morning. "Mr. Carson, we've noticed several sudden changes to Oliver's account. Can you confirm?" I didn't raise my voice. I never do. "I'm not authorized to make decisions for him," I said. "That's what I was told. So I won't be paying for him anymore." There was a long pause on the line. I've worked in IT for 26 years. I solve broken things. I fix what others abandon. I build bridges between systems that were never meant to talk. So when I married Julie, and her 13-year-old son, Oliver, I thought I could patch the gap between us. With money, with patience, with time. Turns out some gaps are there for a reason. They were never meant to be crossed. I was raised by a man who never missed a bill and never missed a slight. My father believed men were meant to carry burdens. Quietly, efficiently, without gratitude or glory. A man works. A man provides. A man swallows pain like pills and washes it down with duty. I lived by that rule. Still do. When I met Julie, I was 44. A late bloomer, some might say. Others might say a man who had learned to live without needing anyone. She was warm, funny, tired, in that way only single mothers are. Bone-tired, soul-tired, but still smiling like it might save her. Oliver was 13. Lean, silent, eyes always watching. He didn't say much at first. Just stared. I took it as caution. Fair enough, I was the stranger, the invader. The man trying to take a seat someone else had vacated without ever bothering to push the chair back in. So I did what I knew how to do. Paid. Not as a bribe. Not as a shortcut. But as a way of saying, "I'm here. I see you. I'll provide." First it was the soccer fees. Then the new laptop. Orthodontics. Weekend trips. Lunch money. Book fares. Band dues. Camp registration. College prep. The kind of expenses you don't track if you're in it for love. I was in it. I didn't push for closeness. I didn't ask him to call me dad. I just showed up. I thought that was the path. Presence over pressure. But in some households, presence is an insult. It wasn't just what he said in the classroom. It was what had built to that moment. The missed birthdays. The way he'd thank Julie for a gift I bought. The times he called his biological dad real, and referred to me in the third person, never in the room, always on the edge. Once, when I picked him up from school, he walked past the car, called Julie and asked why that guy was there instead of her. I stayed silent. Every time I stayed silent. I believed I was earning a place, not demanding one. I believed love meant waiting, not requiring. Turns out, waiting just makes you easier to ignore. I remember the first time I paid for something without consulting Julie. It was a new winter coat. His old one was too short, sleeves riding up like he was shrinking inside it. I picked out the best one I could afford. Sleek, insulated, black, waterproof. When I handed it to him, he took it like it was radioactive. He didn't thank me, just said, "My dad was going to buy one next week." That coat sat in the closet for 2 months. Then one day it disappeared. I asked Julie about it. She said Oliver gave it away to a friend whose family was struggling. He said he didn't need to, she told me. But I knew. He never wanted it to begin with, because it came from me. There's a quiet kind of cruelty in a house like mine. Not yelling, not violence, just the slow erosion of matching. Every decision is second-guessed. Every gesture is filtered through another man's shadow. Julie rarely corrected him. When he made snide comments, she'd say, "He's just a teenager." When he refused to come down for dinner, she'd bring a plate up. When I asked him to clean the living room, he ignored me. When she asked, immediate compliance. I wasn't a man in that house. I was a utility, an interface, just the guy who pays. And when he finally said it out loud, shouted it in a room full of strangers, I didn't feel anger. I felt clarity. All the sacrifices, all the restraint, all the blind hope that one day I'd be seen. I wasn't a father. I was an ATM with a mouth they didn't want to hear. That night, I went home and opened every financial portal tied to that boy's life. I saw the web I had built, the safety net, the privileges he assumed came from nowhere. I clicked cancel more times than I blinked. Aftercare payments? Gone. Lunch card? Locked. Field trip fundraisers? Withdrawn. Textbook orders? Halted. Dental plan? Revised to spouse only. Julie noticed immediately. What happened to his lunch card? I canceled it. You didn't even ask. He said I'm just the guy who pays, so I stopped paying. She didn't reply. That silence told me everything. She'd never expected me to matter, just to pay. Parent-teacher night, neutral ground. Supposed to be. I wore a button-down. She wore perfume I hadn't smelled in months. Oliver wore defiance, his favorite outfit. We walked the hall like strangers in formation. Julie made small talk with another mom. I carried the paperwork. His English teacher smiled when she saw us. One of those practice smiles that hides dread. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Carson. Oliver's shown improvement this semester. Really? I asked. Because the portal. That was all I managed. You're not my real dad. You just pay for stuff. You don't get a say. The words hit the floor harder than any paper could. The room shrank. The teacher looked away. Julie's mouth tightened, like the words had stung her too, but not enough to speak. I said nothing. My ears were ringing. He crossed his arms. Defiant. Proud. I nodded once. Just once. Then I turned and walked out. I passed the janitor in the hallway. I remember him because he didn't look surprised, like he'd seen this before. I stepped outside into the night, sat in my car, and stared at the dashboard for a long time. And I realized something they'd never stop taking, because I'd never made them stop. Julie wasn't going to step in. Oliver wasn't going to wake up one day grateful. It wasn't a phase. It was a truth. One they'd built together. I drove home alone. Didn't even check to see if they followed. At home, I went straight to the dining table and opened my laptop. The house stayed quiet. My fingers didn't. Pulled up the aftercare platform. Clicked End support. Logged into the school's meal account. Deactivated the card. Went to the dental insurance. Adjusted coverage to individual and spouse only. One by one, I unraveled the net I'd spent years weaving. Textbooks for spring semester. Cancelled. Band fees. Reversed. SAT prep program. Unsubscribed. Gym membership. Terminated. Cell phone autopay. Off. Then I opened a new folder. I titled it Oliver, Discontinued Support. I started collecting receipts, tuition statements, monthly transfers, every dollar logged. $47,800. That's what it had come to since I entered their lives. I stared at the number for a long time. Then I typed beneath it, no voice attached. The next morning, the principal called. Mr. Carson, we've noticed some issues with Oliver's school account. Are you still participating in his academic support? I kept it civil, cold but not cruel. I was told I'm not authorized to speak for him, I said. His mother's handling it now. I could hear her hesitate. She wanted to challenge me, maybe, but professionalism kept her mouth shut. She hung up politely, but I knew she'd make the second call to Julie. I welcomed it. That night, Julie came home with a storm brewing under her coat. You embarrassed me, she said. Did I? I asked. Or did your son just tell the truth? He's a teenager. He doesn't know what he's saying. No, I said. He knows exactly what he's saying. What he doesn't know is what it costs to say it. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. But I hadn't. Not yet. He said I have no say, I continued. So now I have no bills. Fair exchange. You're punishing him. No, I'm removing myself from a contract I was never allowed to sign. Over the next few days, the house turned to static. Oliver barely looked at me. Julie looked, but always with questions I refused to answer. She asked if I'd reinstated the lunch card. I hadn't. She asked if I'd resubscribed him to tutoring. I hadn't. She asked what he was supposed to do now. Ask his father, I said. He's got rights, doesn't he? That cut her. Not because it wasn't true, but because it was the one thing she couldn't argue. I kept my distance. No more rides. No more reminders. No more intervention when he forgot assignments or lost his retainer or blamed the Wi-Fi. Julie filled the gaps poorly. She resented the extra weight but still expected me to carry it anyway. She'd glare when I stayed seated at dinner, when I didn't offer advice about his classes, when I didn't ask how the test went. I let the silence speak. You don't want my voice? Then you won't get my concern. 2 weeks later, the bills started stacking. Team tournament. Unpaid. SAT registration. Late fee added. Field trip. Cancelled due to missing parent authorization. Julie exploded. You're just being spiteful. No, I said. I'm being consistent. You can't just cut him off like this. He cut me off. He's a child. No, he's a teenager who wants to be treated like an adult. So let him feel what adulthood costs. She cried that night. Not loudly, but I heard it through the bedroom wall. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The only thing louder than her sobs was the silence between them. The one that said, she knows I'm right, but she'll never say it. One morning I found Oliver in the kitchen. No hoodie, no headphones, no sarcasm. He looked thinner, not physically, spiritually. Can I ask you something? He said, eyes not meeting mine. I nodded. Why'd you stop helping? I didn't answer right away. Instead, I pulled the folder from the drawer, placed it on the table. He opened it, saw the list, the receipts, the years. At the bottom, $47,800. No voice attached. His mouth moved, but no words came. I'm not your wallet, I said. I'm a person, and respect isn't a gift. It's the bare minimum. He sat there for a long time, didn't argue, didn't cry, didn't storm out, just sat. Maybe for the first time in years, he finally saw the man behind the money. Or maybe he saw the future without it. It didn't happen overnight. Real consequences rarely do. First came the slow drip of unpaid fees. Notices from school. Formal, sterile, unfeeling. Balance due. Participation restricted. Support suspended pending payment. Julie intercepted the first few. She tried to cover. She always did. The trip to the capital for Model UN, cancelled. The new iPad his classmates all had, never ordered. College board sent a warning. SAT registration incomplete. She brought it up one evening carefully, like she was defusing a bomb. He's missing opportunities, she said. Things that matter. I nodded. Can't you just help? Quietly? I've been helping quietly for 5 years, I said. That's the problem. She didn't argue after that, but she started sighing more often, that long theatrical breath that says, this is harder without you and I blame you for it. But I didn't fold. 3 weeks in, Oliver cracked. Not dramatically, not with tears or tantrums. It started with a knock on my office door. A soft one. Can I come in? I looked up. He was holding a folder, bent at the corners, clutched like a shield. He stood in front of my desk. Didn't sit. I need help, he said. Not angry. Not proud. Just empty. My SAT thing didn't go through. And the tournament fee. And they said they might block my GPA report if stuff isn't paid. I gestured to the chair. He sat, hesitant, like the wood might break under him. I didn't smile. I didn't soften. I thought I wasn't allowed to be involved, I said. His eyes dropped. I didn't mean it like that. You meant it exactly like that. I was mad. You were honest. He said nothing, just stared at the carpet like it held answers. Then I opened my drawer, pulled out the folder, placed it in front of him. Receipts, transactions, authorizations, pages and pages of numbers that spoke more than either of us could. I flipped to the last page, showed him the bottom line again. $47,800, no voice attached. He stared. I watched his mouth twitch. I didn't know it was that much. You weren't supposed to, because it was never about the money. I waited, and then finally he said it. I'm sorry. It didn't fix anything. Not right away, but it shifted something. He started doing things differently. Small things, quiet things. He made his own lunch. He emailed his teachers himself. He applied for a part-time job at the grocery store. Didn't ask me for a ride. Didn't ask Julie for money to print the resume. I watched. I didn't interfere. Julie noticed too, but she wasn't sure what to make of it. You think this is growth? She asked. Or guilt? Does it matter? I said. She didn't answer. A month passed. The quiet was different now. Not heavy, just watchful. Oliver didn't become affectionate. He didn't call me Dad, but he started knocking before entering, saying thank you when food was on the table, loading the dishwasher without being told. Tiny signs, half measures, but real. And Julie, she softened too. One night, long after he'd gone to bed, we sat on the couch. She poured wine. I didn't ask why. We hadn't shared a drink in weeks. I should have backed you up, she said. That stopped me cold. I thought I was protecting him, she continued, but I think I was just avoiding the truth about what it costs to let someone else carry all the weight. I didn't speak. I let her say it all. She needed to say it more than I needed to hear it. You did more than most men would have, she said. And I didn't say thank you. Not once. Not really. I took a sip of wine. It burned. I wasn't asking for thanks, I said. I know, she whispered. That's what makes it worse. We didn't reconcile with fanfare. There was no tearful reunion, no grand gestures. But slowly I stepped back in, paid the SAT late fee, quietly, without discussion, ordered new cleats for the spring tournament, reinstated the meal account, small balance, just enough to cover what mattered. Oliver didn't act entitled. He thanked me, every time, and for once it didn't feel like a transaction. We were never going to be a normal family. Too much had happened. Too much hadn't. But something new had taken root. Not love, maybe, but a kind of earned peace. He came to me once, late on a Thursday, and asked if I could review his scholarship essay. Only if you want my opinion, I said. I do, he replied. That was the closest he ever came to calling me Dad. And maybe, just maybe, it was enough. We never spoke about the moment in the classroom again. No one brought it up. Not Julie. Not Oliver. Not me. But it lingered, like a crack in glass you can't unsee. I kept the folder in my drawer. Never hid it. Never mentioned it again. Just left it there. A ledger of silence and debt, paid in full. We moved forward, not as a family, but as something quieter. A new contract. Unspoken. Understood. Oliver never apologized twice. He didn't have to, because he changed. He didn't suddenly love me, but he started including me. In plans. In questions. He asked if I could teach him to budget. Asked if I'd walk through his college aid forms. The shift was slow, careful, earned. He still saw his biological father on holidays, on birthdays. But when his phone cracked, he asked if I knew a place to fix it. When he got into his first choice school, he handed me the letter. Not Julie. Me. I read it twice. Not because I didn't believe it, but because I couldn't believe he wanted me to be the first to see. I'm proud of you, I told him. He nodded, eyes down, voice low. You helped. It wasn't flowery. It wasn't emotional. But for him, it was everything. Julie and I talked one night, later than usual. No wine. No soft music. Just two people sitting in the quiet aftermath of a long war. "I've thought about what you did," she said. "The way you drew the line. I didn't do it to punish him." "I know," she said. "That's why it worked." She looked older than I remembered. Or maybe I was seeing her clearly for the first time. "You stepped back," she said. "And for the first time, we all had to see what you'd been holding up." I nodded. "It scared me," she admitted, "watching it fall apart." "It scared me more," I said, realizing no one tried to stop it from falling. We didn't touch that night. We didn't kiss. But something passed between us. A quiet acknowledgement. Not love, but maybe finally honesty. Months passed. The final year of high school blurred into deadlines, campus tours, mailed brochures. Oliver worked at the grocery store 3 nights a week. Saved his paychecks. Checked in with me about taxes, savings, options. He still wasn't warm. But he was present. And he listened. The night before graduation, I found him on the porch. He was sitting on the step, hoodie pulled tight, watching the dark. I sat beside him, said nothing. A long silence. Then he spoke, voice small. "Would you be there? At the ceremony?" I didn't look at him, just nodded. "If you want me." He didn't respond, but he didn't get up either. That was his yes. Graduation day, he walked the stage. I sat 2 rows back. Julie clapped. I clapped once. His name was called. Not mine. His father's. I didn't flinch. I didn't expect otherwise. But when he found me in the crowd afterward, past the balloons, the noise, the kids posing for Instagram, he came straight to me. He handed me the program. He'd crossed out the printed name in pen. Underneath, in messy, adolescent handwriting, he'd written, "Oliver Carson." He said nothing. Neither did I. We just stood there. I didn't ask for anything more. Not college updates. Not calls. Not titles. I'd learned what mattered. That silence isn't always empty. That respect isn't always loud. And that some victories come without applause. So Reddit, here's my story. My stepson shouted across a room once, "You're just the guy who pays." So I stopped paying. And in that silence, I became something else. Not his father, but maybe the man who taught him what a father should be. Was I cruel? Was I heartless? Or did I finally stop living on borrowed respect? You tell me, would you have endured it? Or would you, too, have let the bill come due?